Wache Francis Sutherland Nikasun, Yam Hao Dao. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time away from our busy lives to connect and share with our history and legends. For our dedicated groups of people to serve and share their wisdom and knowledge. Miigwech, for your protection, for the faithful servants brought together to fulfill your presence. We ask you to give us wisdom, patience, and guidance as we begin our 350 celebrations.
Say the names of your ancestors aloud to remember them. A Family Story by Paula Rickard. My Jaban is David Alfred Rubin, whom I call Jaban Rubin. He was born on September 15, 1900 in Fort Albany and died in Toronto on May 13, 1984. His parents are Alexander Sandy Rubin and Jane Kipling. His delayed statement of birth indicates his mother's name is Gilpin, a common name in the Quebec Cree community of East Maine. I researched the Gilpin connection but could not connect Jane to an East Maine family. A connection appeared when looking at the Fort Albany church records. The baptism register shows that Jane was baptized on August 12, 1860, and her parents were Jesse and Amelia Kipling. The Wesleyan Methodist Register of Baptisms shows Jesse's baptism was on August 4, 1844, and his parents were Abon and Jack Kipling Sr. This baptism record was proof that I am a Kipling descendant and not Gilpin as initially thought. As a child, I often visited my Granny Mina in Moosonee. She lived in a 2-story house built by her father, David Rubin. He also lived in the house but was not always home because he often traveled on the train south to visit his brother Joseph and his family in the Hearst area. I remember my Jaban Rubin very well, but I could not communicate with him because he only spoke Cree. As a child, I did not understand the Cree language. I remember seeing him sitting at the kitchen table and talking, but I had no idea what he was saying. My favorite memory of him is when he called me Palula because he could not say my name correctly. I began my genealogical research in 2016. Today, I have 9,999 people on my family tree. It keeps growing. I have a subscription to Ancestry.ca allowing me to view birth, death, and marriage records in Ontario. I came across death records with Jaban Rubin's name as the informant or undertaker. Seeing his name on these records meant he was preserving family history for me. I could finally understand him. I feel him speaking to me when I see his name on a death record. I also find it interesting that my Jaban Rubin was sometimes an undertaker. I am very interested in death and palliative care, and I like to think it is an interest he had as well. This is my connection to my grandfather. There was Laughing Willie and Unknown Woman, Reuben Inkesheshesh or Willie, and Mary Ukamaushquero, and then Alexander Sandy Rubin and Jane Kipling, and then their son David Rubin, who married Annie Lazarus, and then they had my grandmother Mina Rubin, who was married to my grandfather Samuel Mark, and then they had their daughter Marianne Rickard, who is my mother and who married my father James Rickard, and then there's me, Paula Rickard.
My name is George Sutherland. Cowboy to some people. I was born around Moosonee here. And I would like to share a story about my grandfather, Henry Rubin. He's from Albany, Cache area, and brought his family to Moose River Crossing, built a house there. And I would like to share some of the things that he did that I remember, influenced me probably. One of them was they lived at the end of that bay, the bay at Moose River Crossing. They had the last house. And where they lived, the banks were very steep there, and he used to have to get water way down the steep hill. And I guess he decided there's got to be a better way, that you should be able to get this water up here. And next thing we know, he's got this clothesline There was a store there, Moose River, post office store. So he had this clothesline run down to the water. The clothesline comes with 2 wheels. And he had it down there, put a pole down there by the water. Did the same thing on top. And tied his pail to the line, and took his pail went down with the wire, and got it filled up and pulled his pail back up, and that's how he got his water. He thought of that, that's what amazed me about him. We were sitting in this house one time in the spring, and a bunch of snowbirds landed in his front yard. And he got all excited. He said, those are tasty. So I gotta get them. So he went outside and he took the screen off his house, the window screen. So he took that off and he set it up, and he got a little stick to hold it up, and he tied a string to the stick and run the string into the house. And he said, now all I need is a little bit of food, and I don't know what kind of food he put under there. But then he waited until finally the snowbirds came and saw the food, and he waited until they were practically all in there, I guess, and pulled the string. That's how he got his birds. But I don't remember ever eating them, I don't remember if he plucked them or how he did it, but all I know was that they were supposed to be tasty. I love that story. And the other thing he did was, I don't know if it was my birthday or something, he made me a crossbow. Nobody ever saw a crossbow. I don't know how he ever figured out how he would make a crossbow. Everybody had their bow and arrows and slingshots, but I had a crossbow that he made me. I always remember that. And eventually I ended up somehow breaking it. I always remember breaking it. I felt so bad breaking it. The bow went in, there's a slot that you make in the front of the gun thing, and somehow the end part of it broke off. So the bow wouldn't stay in there. So I guess instead of me telling them what happened, I guess I decided I was going to fix it myself. So I nailed the bow onto the gun. Of course, you don't put a nail through. I found out you do not put a nail through a bow. And I guess when I pulled it back, it just broke in half. That was the end of my crossbow. I don't even know if I ever told them that I broke that crossbow. The last thing was, I guess when I was very, very young, I used to run around bare feet all the time. They could never keep me. Mom was telling me this story. And between the store, there was a little creek between the store. I guess I used to go there, I don't know what for, to the store. Instead of going around this little creek, I used to go through it, of course. Every kid's the same. And I guess one time I stepped on the glass on my foot, right across you could still see the scar. That's how deep it was. And there was one spot where it went in, and you could see that also. And right at the bottom like this, right across. And of course there's no trains. Back then, train maybe once a week, I don't know. There was no way they could get me. So he had this willow. I wish I'd have found out which willow it was. Mom was telling me that he took the bark off this willow. And he boiled it or something to soften it, I don't know. But he wrapped my foot with that, and it healed my foot. I don't know where he got that from, So he did all that stuff, and I said, when you're asking me about influence, I thought, well, that is a bit of influence, what he did, and I learned something from him, That's my story of my grandpa.
Nung sumibong tendandega itu time Nung sumiwak tendandega jinaptime Nung kunuin upang dandega
The moment I hear the familiar keys of geese above the swamp canopies, these memories rush back to me like water on the roots of my family tree. Springtime in a snowblind, sipping that tea, late fall in a 20-foot V-stern. In a swamp in a winter with the snowshoes on, following tracks till my feet hurt. You connected me to my destiny, you taught me what being native means. In the shade of the trees, you made me believe in something sacred and free. On the land, you'd be forever with me, making me see what's the greatest gift that you could ever give me. Always have your strong essence in you, taught lessons. Calm presence in the reflections of the sun rising over the tree-lined horizons. I'm rewinding this time inside of my mind to find a pride that's shining. I walked the shoreline with the rope, you walked the riverside and guided the boat. City lights in the distance glowed and glistened off the river's flow. When the current started churning, you knew that you had to just let go. But you should know, I won't stop pulling, even if it seems I'm moving slow. Through the rain and through the snow, I'll proudly hold my past to my side. Son of one of our last great men, one with the river, the land, and the sky. I was blessed to hunt moose with my mooch. I'm 3 generations on the river cruising. Once came back soon cause he ran out of smokes that year. No shooting, no rack in a boat. Really wish that he brought just one more pack. The cigarettes took his life and that's facts. Now I wish we could have just one more chat. So much inside that I have to ask, but really mostly I wanna say me gwitch. He helped mold me as proud as a Cree gets. I hope he forgets and he regrets and feels only I love and I respect. And the love of his life my kokum. I know that together now holding each other close in the spirit world floating. Back of the boat with him laughing and joking. So here's to them, the ones that pass blowing past in the wind, spreading words of encouragement. They're the messengers from the world within. Never left this earth with the earth they spin. Every lesson learned will be learned again. And rest assured we'll return to them. We're the last great women and the last great men.
My name is Tara Ichim Chizo, and I want to share a story about my grandpa James. So a couple years ago in 2020, we went spring hunting with him. It was a last-minute trip. It was with my dad and my sister, and I was supposed to go because I had school. So I went out of nowhere. It was like the day of, and then that was the best trip of my life. It was so fun. It was fun spending time with him and his humor and everything. One of the things I remember about him is when we go hunting in the blind, and then I wake up and he wasn't there, and I go to bed and he wasn't there because he'd always be at the blind. He was so stubborn. He was so stubborn about staying and hunting all the time. He'd have a blind in the middle of Michigamme River, and he'd stay there all day. And then at night when I'm trying to sleep, he'd talk and talk and talk about his faith in the Lord and sharing his stories along with like residential school to me. And he taught me so many things. Actually, he taught me how to like not be scared of anything, especially when we're out on the land like that. And yeah, I'm really grateful to have a role model like him. He was really supportive, and he wanted me to become a doctor and a lawyer at the same time. And I was like, I don't know how I can do that, Grandpa. He's like, you're still gonna do it. And He was just always by my side saying, go, do this, do that, and just really thankful for that for him.
Hello, my name's Wayne Beulah. I'm the mayor of Moosonee. I've grown up here in Moosonee. I've been here for many, many years. So I came in this area when I was approximately 3 years old. And we lived upriver for many years. I working on helping out with the Moose River Heritage and Hospitality Association, and with the 350th anniversary coming up and being celebrated, we have to realize that the Aboriginal people have been in this area a lot longer than that. When the Europeans came here and Hudson Bay Company, I think this is a great time that we can, look and move forward with the history, and I can share some of my thoughts with you. When we lived upriver, we lived up there year-round in a log cabin, and I was very fortunate. I am not Aboriginal, but there was many, many Aboriginals and elders that took me out and shared their knowledge in that. So I'd just like to pass that on a little bit. One of the elders that was really a key person in my life, I remember very early, was Elijah Alisapi. Another real mentor was a guy by the name of Dave Machiquis. He was not actually right from here, he's from Constance Lake, but he married into some of the families around here, and he used to come down and spend summers with us and the falls up the river. And another one was the late Jacob Kitchikapo. He was another real mentor to me. Now we used to go out hunting with them, and I was so fortunate because they shared so much of their knowledge and experiences with me. We'd go out hunting in the bush, but it was all by paddle canoe back then when I was young, and I think they took me to help them paddle up the river. But I'll tell you, it sure was an experience for me. We'd stay in a tent. We had no wood stoves back then, but we'd have homemade iron-down sleeping bags. And they would just show me different things that are around the area, different ways of hunting and trapping. Showed us how to make snowshoes. So it was really, really, really worthwhile. And being a non-native, there was no different. I was not treated any different. They took me right under their wing as if I was their own son. So I think that's something that I really, really wish that our community would do again. Is like, let's all share together and work together. Now, the elders are really important in our community, and many, many of them are gone. All the ones that I think were really important in my life I passed on, but I'd like to share that with the other individuals. So, for example, when you're making snowshoes, they took me, you have to pick tamarack trees or ash trees, and you have to make sure the grain is straight, and you use the outside wood, not the inside wood, because it's too dry. Another thing that they taught me with the snowshoes, that there were two different types of snowshoes that were made. One was made with traveling, and one was made for hunting. The hunting snowshoe had pom-poms on it, made out of moose hide. Also had cloth around the middle section where they put the babish, where your foot goes. And the reason that was, is when you walk, when it's 40 below, the babish will squeak if it's just on the wood. With the cloth or the moose hide, it doesn't squeak. It doesn't scare the animals away. And the pom-poms, on the snowshoes, that's when you walk into the willows. When the willow hits the wood, it doesn't make much noise, it muffles it. So there was two different types of snowshoes, which if they hadn't shown me and told me about it, I would never know that. So I think, like I said, there's so many different things in this area that we can share, and I think it's great. And, I want to pass it on to as many people as I can.
Beulah Marjorie Mark was born October 27, 1930 to John and Charlotte Mark. She was the second youngest of 9 children and the last surviving of her siblings, Dorothy, Ethel, Johnny, Oliver, Grace, Alice, Jane, and Lawrence. She was also cared for by Erlyn and Lillian Vincent. Beulah spent her life caring for her 14 children, John, Denise, Dolores, Abel, Kenny, Judy, Betty, Arnold, Troy, Sharon, Mark, Raymond, Marina, and Joy. Granny was also blessed with 52 grandchildren, 97 great-grandchildren, and 23 great-great-grandchildren. Granny also cared and babysat for many families in the community. She had a big heart and loved to care for others. Granny was a devoted member of the Cree Gospel Chapel. Many of her grandchildren can recall attending church and Sunday school with her. Some of our fondest memories growing up included waking up to her playing gospel music while she baked her famous Indian cake or honey-dipped donuts. Granny has left us with so many teachings, most notably the ability to create. Granny spent her life creating and giving. When her kids were young, she made them clothes, koyatucks, nibaggins, moccasins, mukleks, mittens, and gloves. As her kids got older, she had them help with her sewing. She would get her kids to stitch glove lining, braid mitten strings, sew receiving blankets, and bead Indian heads and MVP pins. That artistic craft has been passed down to her children and grandchildren, whether it is through beading, sewing, painting, carving, or A+ decorating skills. Over the years, she has created so many different gifts for her family, friends, and community members to cherish. Granny was also a proud hockey mom, granny, and Jeban. When her aunties and uncles were young, her home was decorated with trophies, banners, and hockey medals. Now her home is filled with hockey photos of her grandchildren. Granny was known for always being at the hockey rink. Judy shared a story that whenever there was a hockey tournament on the island, she would call the house to see if Granny needed a ride to the rink. Grandpa would tell her she already left to go open the arena. At the end of the night, they would call the house to check if she made it home okay. Grandpa would tell her, no, she's still there, she needs to close the arena. Even in her old age, she was insistent on going to the arena if someone in her family was playing. She had great pride in all her hockey players. Whenever she could, she always loved watching her grandchildren, Jabans, and even her old washed-out sons play. She was also a die-hard Toronto Maple Leafs fan. She would always watch the game if Toronto was playing, even the old rerun games from the 90s. And we would always have a giggle at her commentary of the game. She was always more entertaining than the game. We're so appreciative of the strong family unit that Granny instilled in us. Our favorite memories growing up, and even to this day, are birthdays, celebrations, and family dinners, when we would all get together, eat, and spend time together. Looking back at old photos and the smile on Granny's face, it's clear that she was the happiest when we were all together. In the last years of her life, although it was sometimes tough to see her living with dementia, we are grateful for our aunties Betty and Sharon for keeping her at home and allowing us to spend more precious time with her, even though she was always trying to be an escape artist. Although it is always hard to lose a parent or grandparent, we are comforted in knowing that Granny lived a long, beautiful, and full life. A life full of love, laughter, and great blessings. Granny was blessed with a large family that only got larger and larger throughout the years. She always had a baby in her arms and was so excited whenever she got to welcome a new family member into our family. Granny leaves behind a legacy of immense love, laughter, and family. We have lost our great monarch, but are left with the many memories and lessons she taught us. She has provided us with so many gifts over her 90 years of life, but the greatest gift she left us all is the gift of family and each other.
Wache, my name is Thomas Blompier, and I've been a volunteer with the More Than 350th Committee for a few years now. I recently completed my PhD on the history of the railway in the Moosonee area, and today I wanted to highlight one of the scholars that's come before me to look at this region. Some of you may have been lucky enough to actually meet him. I'm talking about the late John Long, who wrote the enormous book on Treaty Number 9. And fairly early in my PhD, when I was first looking at Professor Long's book, I noticed quite near the back how he was explaining how all of the different histories of the railway had neglected to mention really treaty or the people in the region. And this really inspired me to look further into it, and ultimately this became my PhD topic.
I'm Grace Delaney, the deacon for the church. One of the things that I really admired about the ACW, the elder ladies, was that they would host a dinner for other younger people that could assist them in packaging the baskets that they were going to pass around to the community for seniors in the community, both couples and singles or widowers, and used to be so much stuff, and it would go on for a long time in one evening where they were packing things together and preparing for that day to distribute. And it wasn't just them distributing, it was other people outside, like the police or the fire department, that would come and assist them in distributing the baskets after they were done.
My name is Mary Mabry, and I'm co-deacon of St. Thomas with Grace Delaney. And the two women that really inspired me was Beulah Morrison and Nellie Ferries. They were so faithful. When we used to get invited to do the baskets, Beulah Morrison would sit there with big bags of sugar, and she would bag them into individual little bags, you know, to fill the baskets. And she was always so good in Sunday school, Bible study. And she was a true and faithful servant for the Lord. And so was Nellie Ferries. They both really inspired me to do work in the church.
Hi, my name is Trudy Sailors. I am on that Anglican Church Women Diocese of Moosonee ACW. Our vice president, Virginia, was a co with Marion and
First of all, I didn't join the ACW right away. It was years. And then later on, when about around this time, my mom would call me, "Oh, I want you to come out and help us rowing our baskets, and we're going to have dinner first, and we're going to do this." Yeah, I was really encouraged by my mom and to become part of the ACW. And then being part of the choir, my Aunt Dory kept telling me, "Come on, you must sit in a choir with us." I kind of hesitated for quite a while. Then I said, "Okay, I'll come," and I sat with her, and that's how I became a choir member. If it wasn't for her, I probably would have never been in a choir. But now I am so thankful for all those years who encouraged me to do what. And now, for me, it's part of what I do, what I can do, and how much I can do, what to expect to be done each year. I'm very thankful when this time of the year comes, as it's exciting for all of us.
and today, Sunday, is White Gift Sunday. Can you scan over to that basket over there? That is the White Gift Sunday. On this Sunday, which is the first Advent service, the first Advent, we always have this White Gift Sunday, and it's a box, and in there are white gifts that are given. They're contributed to the elders' baskets. So what we will be doing is giving those gifts in there to the Moose Cree Health Program for the Moose Cree First Nation for the distribute. How do you say that word? Distribution of the elders' baskets this year. And this year it's going to be done the same day that they have the elders' Christmas dinner on December 4th, Sunday. So the baskets will also be given to the elders. So we contribute calendars. We have Christmas cards that Virginia does, and we also provide them with other items that we have gathered over the year. It was already going.
Yeah.
When I came home in
Oh, yeah, that's right.
1997. You know, they were prior, way back. They were doing that way back. I think my mother, they have a date when I was a baby. I think I was a baby, so that would have been at least 55 or 60 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe longer, 65 years.
Elsie did mention one time in church asking for help to do the baskets. She named a certain day that they were going to do them. And she says, "I'm asking for help," she says, "because the people that are doing the baskets are all recipients."
Oh, yeah.
Well, we did take over.
And
we did take over.
So that's when I started to go, and help. And that was funny. She announced it in church that they were all recipients doing the baskets for the elders.
And that's what's happening today. Most of us are recipients all of us here are recipients of the elders basket, but we still do it. You know, we still do that work. It's a service to our community, to the people in Moose Factory. All the elders, over 65, over 65.
Oh, yeah. See, on the list that we have now, there's about 160 elders.
They used to send out letters of request for donations, but
Yeah,
prior to
for
that,
businesses, yeah.
they used to have things where they would get donations somehow to the Pershal,
Yeah.
and then they would sit there and they'd wrap all these boxes with, remember, they used to wrap the boxes with Christmas paper. They'd have a meal together first, then they would do wrap the boxes, and then they would do all like Marion said, they would do the sugar and tea bags separate, and then we'd have the Christmas cards from, they did Christmas cards like what Virginia does today, and what else?
And we'd bake candies too.
From Gigi's,
Someone
yes, they
donated.
would donate it, yeah.
Bulk candy, like we would bag them for the elders baskets.
So when we took over, little things changed a bit. We actually bought the personal little gifts that we give to the elders. Bought it on our own, like, you know, what we thought somebody would buy something. Remember, we buy different items towards the baskets. So so how many years now have we done it? 3, 4 years, or maybe more than that?
Dollar has to make a lot of money off us to buy stuff.
I'm very thankful, like I've learned a lot from many of the ladies as a younger member, and as Marion was mentioning, she mentioned 2 ladies, Nellie Ferris and Beulah Morrison. Beulah was my mother, but there were other older ACW members that have now passed on. There are some that were in our group that are retired from the group. They're part of the Dorcas, they call it the Dorcas Circle. I remember my mother, Beulah, my mom said that Nellie invited her to one of her first ACW meetings, and Nellie Ferris and Elsie Chilton, and I believe Doreen Wynn, they were, and your mom too, Agnes Ludit, and
your mom?
Your mother too.
Yeah,
What's
she was
your
part
mom's
of it.
name? Hattie Visitor. They were part of the original Anglican Church women way back.
Jean Morrison.
Jean Morrison was another. Katie Pasquich. Lydia Ludit.
Daisy Turner.
Katie Pasquich.
Madeline Wesley.
Mary Eacham.
Jane Ludit.
Oh, yeah, Jane.
Emma Eacham.
Helga Jeffers.
Marion Wesley. Yeah.
Eva Losses. Elizabeth Chum.
We have a hanging, a moose hide hanging that used to hang in the old pear shop, and the names are on there of the older women.
Lydia Ludit. Elaine Bailey.
Now, we didn't
Dot
put our
Watt.
names on there.
Edgar Corsten was also a member of ACW.
Josephine Wesley, yes.
Gertie Johnson is another one that really inspires me. She's always encouraging Grace and I.
Wasn't Beatrice, what's her name, Beatrice Ferris?
There was a group too,
There's a bunch.
Moose Creek First Nation,
Yeah.
the Homemakers group. That's another group of ladies too. My grandmother, Mary Dick, was part of that, and I believe Beatrice Ferris might have been too.
Mary Dick was also on ACW. Charlotte Manabanush.
I think even in Moosonee too. They had a Homemakers in Moosonee too. But I think that was part of the community. Same with the Homemakers. They were ladies that got together, we don't. I hope we didn't miss any of the ladies. There's lots of ladies.
Beulah Butterfly was also a member of the ACW. And Charlotte Coussis.
Oh, we have a blue box downstairs that her husband made for the Anglican Church. It's a blue where they stored stuff. So we kept that. It's down in the Pear Shawl, down in the church. Made by Robert Coussis, Charlotte's husband.
Who's now 101.
He's still living, he's still with us. I find that a lot of the women were women of confidence. I've seen a book like that, and that's what I feel. to others. They weren't afraid to go forward, you know, and do what they could to service our community, the parishioners plus people in our community. There are other activities that the Anglican Church women have done. They have catered. They've been asked to cater meals, so often we've helped with catering. They've also helped with the church cleaning.
Oh, yeah.
This part here, there is another group called the Altar Guild. I think they might have been part of the Altar Guild, which cleaned the front part of the church and also where the people sit. And even the parish hall till we cleaned the parish hall when it was separate from the old church. There are other things that we did too, right? We were involved in other events like Canada Day. We used to be the first ones on Canada Day. We were the ones that got up early and did the breakfast on Canada Day. $5, I remember, $5 for a plate.
And that's how we
coffee.
charged $5. My goodness.
Back then it was $5. They had everything on there.
Oh, so much things we did, like to be involved with, you know, to be part of the community and doing stuff for the community. That was the most important thing, I think, for us to do.
Whether they were babies, I remember too, they used to do, they would give gifts to newborns. Remember that?
Yeah.
They would wrap up a gift and they would give a gift to
Yeah,
people.
it was called that.
Yeah, and even at Christmas, the elders that were in the hospital, they'd do a separate gift for the elders in the hospital and take it to them. And even singing, they used to sing in a choir and they'd sing at the hospital. They used to have choir go to the hospital at Christmas and sing carols to the patients that were there.
They would go out in pairs to go and visit shut-ins, do prayers and some reading and then just some socializing with the person that they were visiting or the family that they were visiting. And one other thing that ACWs, it was mainly Beulah Morrison who used to do it, Little Helpers they were called, and she would do a card for the baptized child, and every year on the anniversary of the baptism would happen, she would send another card. So that was some other stuff that the families were doing, which was really, I mean, the ACW ladies were involved in those kind of things.
They would cater meals. I remember one time we were approached by an organization that was putting on a meal for graduates of a program at Moose Creek First Nation, and we provided, I don't know if it was desserts or something, and they provided the wild meat. So we gave some desserts to that organization for the graduates. They did a lot of catering.
They used to have meals after a funeral too for some people. After they lose a loved one, they prepare a meal. Because I remember when I lost my grandson, that the ACW did that for us at the monastic school.
When there's a death in the community, what I miss is they used to say, oh, can the choir come and sing at the home of the whoever lost a loved one? You'd go there and sing some hymns. It was nice, like, to be with the family. And then from there, then they would say, well, we want a choir at the funeral. That's the other thing they'll request. They'll have the choir at the funeral, which I think is for them, is probably a very blessing for them to hear the hymns, you know, being there for them too and supporting them.
We do a card to it
Yeah,
on behalf of these.
send a card.
They did a card too.
Cook a meal for them and
They used to bring groceries as well for the families. Or host after the funeral feast, like they would host it at the parish hall. ACW. The other thing I wanted to mention was that most of the ACW ladies were also Sunday school teachers, so they were on the go all the time. From like Virginia mentioned that they were also choir members. ACW was so busy.
Go ahead, Marion.
I remember one time we went to Sunday school. One of the teachers, I'm not gonna name any, she must have rolled her hair in rollers and took them off, but she didn't comb her hair. Oh my, I thought, you have a new hairdo. What? She goes, looks at herself in the mirror and she hadn't even combed her hair. And how busy it was for us teachers. And one morning I went to Sunday school with my slippers. We're doing prayers in Sunday school. I looked down at my feet, slippers, and my slippers on. I'm so embarrassed. Oh my God! But we had lots of fun.
We sure did.
And we used to have a Christmas party at the end for the Sunday school.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd get a Santa Claus and gift giving and a little light lunch or something. Anyway, when Wayne McIntosh was here, he got a guy from the States to be a Santa Claus. And this guy, Santa Claus just sat there and didn't say nothing. And Elsie Chilton was our superintendent for Sunday school. Really outspoken. She goes up to Santa Claus. What's the matter with you? You could at least say Merry Christmas. I was thinking, I wonder what Santa Claus thought.
Our group too, Anglican Church women used to have a Christmas get together, remember? Yeah, lots of fun at those. Those were a lot of fun. We'd eat and we'd have social time. I remember one time we played this game where we had to act out something. It was so funny. And it was awesome. Like just to get together and have fun, and we didn't, we weren't servicing others. Now we were servicing each other, like it was fun. It was a lot of fun. You have a good memories. It's probably coming up in their minds, but we did. Yeah, it was a lot of good memories.
Elsie used to do a roster for the church cleaning ladies. She used to have one for the altar, a group of for the altar, and also the bigger part of the church, which Trudy already mentioned. And it was usually Elsie who drew up all the who was going to be on it. And she didn't just use the ACW ladies; she also picked anybody that came to church to be a part of it. So that was something that she did. And she also mentioned to us that she had been praying for all of us to make sure, to encourage us to step up and do more for the church. There are good things that she really encouraged. And she was the president of the ACW Women as well as the national ACW president. So that Nellie Ferries was also a part of that. Was a member of the National ACW Women, and as well as diocesan, and so was Eva Lazarus.
She was awesome. I would go and see Eva Lazarus, and for advice or just to go and visit her and talk to her about some of the stuff that we were doing. I would, towards the end, she didn't come to our meetings, because of her health, so I would go and see her, and it was really good. So she was like Elsie. She was very strong, a woman of confidence for sure, and strong faith. All of them had a strong faith in the belief of Jesus, like God our Father and the Holy Spirit, and they were guided a lot. And that kept them young in their minds. So when we talk, they remember a lot of stuff, It was awesome to go and get advice. Now I'm going to Grace and Marion, the older, they come with experience. They know. They've been involved in so much. The ACW, the Anglican Church women of the past have been involved in the community in so many ways. And that's where we've learned from them.
Every Easter, every Easter, Elsie used to bring candies. She'd bring a basket of candies and leave them there at the table. Anyway, John Edmonds was here at that time. Elsie wasn't able, she was already at home, had to stay at home, and she was already getting sick and couldn't come to church. So I came in and I brought some candies in the basket. I'm going to be like Elsie, I told him. But before I could say anything else, he says, oh no, not another one. I said, John, you didn't let me finish.
John.
I got some candy. It was fun.
You have good memories of the ministers.
I think each minister that came here, we had so much fun. All these ministers came and went, and once they got to know who we were and what we did, and there were such good memories. When you think back, what was done, and now that's just like us. And then the next branch, so who's going to be the next branch? It'd be amazing. It's just, that's not part of the topic, but, for me, I think about these young people so much. I think a lot of times young people are not getting young people involved at different things. Remember in our group I said we should invite a young mother, young people to our meetings, they get to know us, but not once we got to know them, then there's little questions how are they dealing with their relationship, how are things at home, what support do they get? I always think about these young people, like young mothers, even fathers that are, they have the child and then the mother is not there. So, when I think about it, I pray every night for these young people that they can be, how am I going to put it? Yeah, I think we really should invite them to, a meeting, or just to get to know them, just to see what do we do, is there anything they want to tell us? I know they won't say anything right away, but maybe once we get to know them more, then we could ask questions. I always had that in mind, what do you guys think,
Well, I remember in youth group, when I did youth group for St. Thomas for 8 years.
Yeah.
And during that time, like Virginia said, at first they're going to test you, they're going to check it out, and you have to give them space to do their thing. And there was a way we did it, but sometimes if something came up, it was their time too. And I used to go there, and there was others that were helpers. And I found that when I would go, I would be so tired from work. But I went there, I would go, and youth group, I would be so energized. Their energy, I just fed off their energy. So by the end of the day, I was wide awake. But I found that over time, the kids got to know us, some of us. So they would come to us, I remember, privately, or whether we were sitting close to them, and they would share some of the things that would go on in their home or whatever, what was happening in their lives. So sometimes we would tell the other group, can you just let me sit here for a bit and go over there and do your thing over there. So that's what I found too. I think it's important, especially now with all the residential school stuff that we're hearing and how it has affected our community and the people. And the ministry and anybody that's in leadership or anyone that is involved in anything in the church, we're there. We are there for the community. We are doing our best. And some of us too are going through healing. A lot of us are affected. Whether we went to school in a residence or we're a day scholar, like I am a day scholar. We went to school and we went home at night. But even our children too are affected by what happened to those that were residential school survivors. So I think today, I think that it's good. We are here now, and it's from here that we go forward. We need to go forward, you know, but still there are some that, of course, will go through healing. There needs to be healing for everybody. So I think we are on that road, and it is good to see. We are all, each group or church is coming to Christ, you know. We are all coming to Him in our own way. I believe in that. And I'm sure that the rest of the ladies in our group and even in the ministry too, that is what has happened, all the stuff we heard about residential school through the church and the government and everything, but especially through the church, there's healing that's happening, which is good. So, good day. Good day.
Nellie Ferris was also a trustee for the Moose Factory Island District School Area Board, being the chair as well.
Eva was a counselor too, eh?
Yeah.
The Moose Creek First Nation. Nellie used to be a curler. Used to
People.
She was a good curler too.
Wasn't Elsie too?
Another thing that should be mentioned of Nellie Ferris, that she had a gentle way of ministering to us and talking with us. And like it was mentioned before, that she was very patient. She was a very patient woman. She was also a teacher at the school. She taught Cree, as well as sometimes I think she supply taught. And I know she taught some of the teachers how to say words, you know, like in case the children were to speak Cree or say something in Cree, so that the teacher would understand what they're saying, even though they couldn't speak back. So she did many things that are within the community. Like it was mentioned that she was an acting chief once upon a time, probably the very first woman to be an acting chief for Moose Creek First Nation at one time. And I don't know how long she served, but I know she served well wherever she found herself to be in. And I remember teachers mentioning my husband, who was also a teacher at the school, and was very impressed with the way Nellie would teach the class, and how patient and how, you know, encourage the children to be participating with what she was doing. And so I think she was very overall a gentle, caring, and loved what she did, and did it quietly, not for show, but to make sure that it was done the way it should have been.
I remember Bertha telling us one time she had to see Gilbert about something, and she went over to their house, and apparently they had a room in their house as an office, both of them. There was a desk there, and you know, a desk with the shelves and everything, and Gilbert said to Bertha, "See all this here? That's all my stuff. The rest of the junk you see is Nellie's."
Oh, she had all the
boxes
bags.
Here, bins here.
She had bags too for church. She had bags for Sunday school, bags for Anglican, ACW, just like I do. You guys do probably have bags for different things.
And she had a 4-wheeler. She used to bob around on it with all her bags, you know. Quite a lady, that one. To me, she was an angel. Nellie was an angel. I really, really respected her, and I was really inspired by her. She always had something good to say about people. I never heard her. I've never seen her mad or angry or anything. so soft-spoken, and she was a lady, an angel, in my opinion.
I have a funny comment about Nellie. We baked, we cooked, we did whatever. Anyways, I remember, I don't know if it was her or somebody mentioned it. When she left the house, Gilbert would say, "Where are you going with that thing now?" You know, "Aren't you gonna leave anything here for us?" So a lot of the baking that we did, you know, it would go out of the house. So the baking and stuff in the past that they did too, like the families too, eh?
I think my mom too used to tell my dad, "Oh, don't touch that. It goes over here." My dad used to just love my mom's baked goods, whatever. And she always told, "No, this is not for us. It's for the bake sale that they have."
That was the amazing thing about those ladies too. They walked everywhere. Nowadays, people here, like even us, we take a taxi pretty soon. I asked Charlotte Coussis one time, what do you attribute your longevity of life? And she said, "Walk every day." So it's something that, and the other thing that Charlotte Coussis would do is make crafts in her own home and actually sold them from her home. And so they did other things besides ACW stuff, but I think they also were making money on the side to make sure they had enough to contribute to the offering of the, to go towards the church. They also collected, what do you call that little can? United Offering. United
It's
Offering.
called
which
United Thank Offering.
Thank Offering, which also went to other countries too. They also sponsored children from the current women.
We
are
have the
doing stuff.
children's, it's called Children's Believe today. We sponsor one youth in Paraguay, a young girl. And that United Thank Offering too, it was money that was donated. I remember one time we donated to the dialysis program here at the hospital. All the money goes to that. All the money went to that organization at
They
the hospital.
started the traveling basket, which also came with it, the United Offering.
Okay. Also that money for that, yeah. There
supposed
was
to
a
go
little a jar in there that people that would take it would put money in. They would put money in for what they received, and then they would put something in. You might remember this one lady one time. She put a goose in there. Remember that? She put a goose in it. She called it. She said, "I don't know how to cook. I took the basket, but I don't know how to cook the goose. How do you cook a goose?" She told me. She told me. It was so awesome. Like, we could put anything in there. And then you'd write in a little book. In that little jar, there was money, but there was also a little book where you would write down what you would receive. And you put a little money in if you were able to, and then you put something else in, and then it'd go on the table, and then at the meeting, we'd say, "Okay, who wants to take the basket this time?"
Is that a traveling basket?
That's a traveling basket, yeah.
One time we were cleaning, I think Eleanor said, "Now, I wonder who's going to follow our footsteps when we're gone," she said to me one time. Well, I said, "I don't know, we've been here for so many years. I said, it's going to be a brave person to go step in our shoes to do the things that we do now."
We hope that our grandchildren, from our examples at home or what we do, that they will come and help us. And that's whether it's a boy, or we invite a boy, or a young lady, a young man, or a young woman. I think that would be really, even the little children, they know. They're very good at service, our children.
Those are the good old years.
Yeah.
We remember.
We've covered everything, I think.
I think we did.
I think we did, eh?
Yeah. I wish I could stay and tell you more funny stories, but
We have a lot to say.
I have a bag full of them.
Ministers up a long time ago.
Hello, my name is Yvonne Morrison. My mother, like so many women, were our first social activists, working with children, young people, families, the poor, shut-ins, and the sick, supporting through their time, and fundraising through potlucks, rummage sales, and sewing, to name a few. They taught us about kindness and prayerfulness, being active in helping families with hardships and grieving, and healing through music and prayer to families in need.
So take care.
God bless you. God bless you. Okay. Oh, my name Jemima Hardesty. Oh, my late mom, Kathleen Hardesty. It was around 1970 when I sometimes went to ACW, and I used to help people beadwork there, ACW. That's what I did, and I used to help them rap and sing at ACW. That's about 69, 70. So my late mother used to be ACW making things for magazines, gloves, and others in baking. That's what I used to do. So I didn't stay too long in ACW. I have to teach Sunday school for 22 years. So sometimes they invite me for ACW on Wednesday, just to make things, to make things like cards, writing down some cards, and bikes, making some bikes for people I like. Then also we make something like gloves, like mittens. We make that, helping them. So they put them on a sale, on bake sale. They put them there. That's how we know. A lot of women came there, but now they used to be in elders. They used to come there knitting socks and making blankets. Blankets like something like a goose, like when you put goose in there, embroidery, something like that. That's how they used to do. And something for the church too, like you put it on beside there on the church with the beadwork. That was good. There was a lady, she was very nice beadwork. And there was also a lady, he made Advent candles there. We helped her making Advent candles, the one we see this morning. That's the one. That's what we used to do on ACW, making things like that. To make things for people, to people what they want, making, and they put donation in it too. So every Christmas, they make things for us, for the elders, food, cans, those who cannot go to the store to buy things, like meat, they do that. They give them away. And mostly make homemade jam. That's what they did. Lots of things was helped LCW. Beside that, blankets, embroidery blankets, and Kulatex. I used to make Kulatex for Eskimos like that. I used to put them. That's how they were.
Greetings from Pakenham, Ontario. My name is Jane Scanlon, and Moose Factory Island was my home from 1964 through 1969. My father, the Reverend Jim Scanlon, was the priest at St. Thomas Anglican Church, and he had a shared ministry with the Reverend Redfern Lutic. I have wonderful memories of St. Thomas at Christmas time, particularly the hymns sung in Cree and also the church being so beautifully decorated.
My name is Daniel Berg, and my father-in-law, the Reverend James Scanlon, tells the story of how he helped his parishioners break the Hudson's Bay monopoly on commercial activity, particularly during the Centennial year 1967. The year before, he got the idea that the kids really needed to be more connected to their culture. And so he asked them to paint paintings of all aspects of a traditional life. And so they started painting. And it was pictures of teepees, of trees, of animals, of the river, of buildings in Moose Factory. There's all kinds of pictures reflecting life at Moose Factory, traditional life. So pretty soon the walls of Horton Hall were all papered with the art, and Church Hall was papered. And then finally the church itself, with its fresh coat of paint, was nonetheless papered over with all this art. Move ahead to the Centennial year itself. He has suggested that maybe they could put up a couple of teepees on church property. And, so that they could, again, be showing the traditional Cree way. And he got them to create some period costumes so that they could have people going around in authentic dress, kind of like Upper Canada Village. Jim had spent quite a bit of time in Kingston, would have known about that. Now, the reason he was doing all this is because there were a lot of tourists coming up to St. Thomas, and Pierre Elliott Trudeau had been up visiting the Innu and had insisted on trying their food, and then on TV pronounced that it was good, that you should try some to his Canadian audience. So with this in mind, he got the idea that it would be wonderful if a family would move into one of these teepees and that they would cook bannock that they would then, give to the tourists, sell to the tourists. And so he dropped a couple of ideas, and then one morning, Grandma Tomatuk and her two grandchildren came with firewood and cooking supplies and pots and all that kind of stuff to make fancy bannock, with the fruit in it. And he got all excited, and he went out and put up the sign, and then he got Jane and Peter, his kids who were like 7 and 5 at the time, to come with him and to get some bannock. And so he bought them some bannock, and then they went around to the tourists chewing on the bannock and saying, "You should try it, it's good." Well, they sold like hotcakes. And so that just started going day after day. Grandma Tomatuk and the grandchildren living there and cooking bannock and selling it to the tourists who are coming, started to come pretty often now. And then other ladies started helping her out. And in fact, the ACW ran quite the canteen out of the church hall, and other folk, seeing all this going on, came and sat near the teepees with some of their beadwork or some of their handiwork to sell, and life changed for the better at Moose Factory. And in fact, it's still the same today, that the Cree people have a lot to share with the rest of Canada. Thanks for listening. Miigwech.
Wajie, my name is Bernice Kapachisen.
And my name is Virginia Barter.
As co-chairs of the More Than 350 Planning Committee, we are pleased to invite you to participate in the commemorative events and activities we are holding from March 2023 to February 2024.
June 2023 will mark 350 years since Moose Factory was established. But the focus of our commemoration is a history and heritage that is more than 350 years in the making. and extends well beyond Moose Factory Island.
On Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, the Migisio Bisum, the eagle moon, will be full, marking the beginning of Sikwan, the first season in the Omashkego lunar calendar.
On this date, an opening ceremony will launch the year-long commemoration of more than 350 years in the making, Moose Factory in Omashkego Eski, from time immemorial to 1673 to 2023.
The celebrations will continue past Sikwan, springtime, into Meliskamen, blooming time, Nipin, summer, Aquagan, autumn, Mikiskaw, freeze up, and Bipon, winter. Finishing with a closing ceremony in February 2024, marking the end of the Gishe Bisum Great Moon lunar cycle.
Throughout these 6 seasons, we are planning events and land-based activities that include music, art, culture, language, sport, history, and heritage.
Our goal is not only to celebrate and commemorate a living history and support holistic community development founded on principles such as Milu Bimatswan and Shawalchikewan.
Shawalchikewan is our More Than 350 motto. This Cree term translates as receiving with gratitude and a desire to give back. Reciprocity, sharing, generosity, hospitality, honoring, and gratitude.
The Moose River Heritage and Hospitality Association is working with its co-founding jurisdictional members, Moose Cree First Nation, Mokripak Ewood Council, and the town of Moosonee, as well as individuals, organizations, and partners in and beyond our region. We are also partnering with other community events and initiatives such as Moose Cree First Nations Gathering of Our People, Mushkegwa Council's Cree Fest, and the Winnipeg Aboriginal Film Festival.
For more details on our plans, consult our webpage at www.mrhha.ca/more-than-350.
You can help make the More Than 350 initiative a success. Please consider joining us with your ideas, events, initiatives, programs, inputs, talents, vision, and resources.
We also invite local and regional organizations to appoint a representative to our planning committee or one of our subcommittees.
For more information or to get involved, please contact the MRHHA Community Coordinator, Lori Sutherland at mrhha.ca or 705-221-7198.
So come and be part of this history with us. Miigwech.
Thank you for considering our invitation.